welcome to the show. As I was saying before, it is amazing. It's an honor. I mean, it's epic to have someone with such talent, with such badassness as you. You know what I mean?
Thank you so much for having
Abs-
me. So happy to be
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. So, starting with the whole interview now, let's go back in time a little bit here and tell me like how this journey started.
here. I'd say I definitely fell in love with acting when I was probably about 7. I remember we were doing a school play
Hmm.
and I really wanted to audition for the leads and we were told we weren't allowed. Only this like senior people in the school were allowed to.
Oh
And
yeah.
I was devastated. And yeah, so I got a part that only had one line. And it was in that moment up on stage that I was like, oh, I love this so
Hmm.
much.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. And what play was it?
It was like a Christmas play that was just, I think, written by the school or like just a local kind of Christmas
Hmm.
play
Hmm.
at my
What?
elementary school.
That's amazing. Was it like the Born of Jesus, something like that?
No, it was like, I don't even remember. All I know is my line was, and I like Dr. Seuss. And then I picked up a book and showed it to the audience. And that's all I did, but that was enough.
That's badass. That's when we
Yeah.
all know. That's epic. I mean, the reason why I ask you that is because I did in high school a play on on the Christmas thing. I only had one line, and
Oh,
I ended up messing it up. And at that moment, I realized, besides that I fucked up, that it was just not for me. I was like, yeah, no, this is it. This
okay.
is my acting career.
Like, that's not my thing,
No,
really.
it ended up being a mess. I mean, people have fun, which was good. I mean, people laughed a lot. Thank God there were no memes at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank God. But the director of the play hated me, and the school hated me for a while. But yeah, that's another story. Yeah,
I know it's hard when you mess up a line.
yeah. Only one thing. One thing. That's it.
I had it was probably when I was about 14
Mm,
that I realized I could do it for a career because I'm from Prince George, so kind of like just a bit northern of like central interior BC,
yeah.
and I was doing community theater and stuff, but it was my acting teacher in high school kind of pulled me aside and was like, "Hey, I think you could do this for like a career." He's like, you could move away. So that's when the gears started turning. I was like, oh man, I can leave. Like I can go to Vancouver or Toronto and go actually do this. So that's when that became the plan. Like kind of around 13,
Yeah.
14, I was like, I'm gonna go and pursue this.
I love it. That is really cool. And before being 13, 14, was it something else you wanted to be when you were little?
First when I was little, I really wanted to be a dancer. I wanted to
Cool.
do tap dance and ballet and jazz. And before that, I think I really wanted to be a vet. The kind of one of the classic little girl jobs,
I love it.
a vet and a ballerina. So,
That's so
yeah.
cool. That's so cool. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And going here a little bit more into your acting career, like how you prepare a character. Now I understand, of course, that depends on the role, but like, what are usually some of the first things you do, or like, what is your like what is your usual approach before starting this journey of character creation?
I think my first approach is reading the breakdown and like looking for any key words or any like hints about their past. And then kind of writing out what that means to me, or like
Mm,
if it says that the character is shy, it's like I think to myself, how does the shyness present itself in this person? Um, and then I just take it to the script. Like I start reading the lines just like on the treadmill or the elliptical to kind of get them into my body. And then sometimes you feel like this little click when you're reading the lines over and over of like how the character would say it. And then you can take the lines out for a walk, and that's kind of you start to feel how does my character move? What does my character think about this? And you kind of take it from moment to moment in every line. And I like to write out their thought process and yeah, what they're feeling and thinking and why and what they want out of the other person. And I have like a whole list of questions I usually go through and answer. about each character. And then of course there's the physicality work, and then if they have a different dialect from you,
Mm,
and then the physical stuff like creating their look that's different from yours as well.
totally. Okay, okay. And like how long it takes usually? A couple of months, weeks?
It totally depends on the complexity of the show you're doing
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. Like,
Mm-hmm.
for example, if you've just got like a smaller part, you want to make sure it's a well-crafted character, but not in any way that's going to pull away from the leads.
Okay.
Right? So you kind of want to still craft your character and make it very real to yourself and for the audience, but you want to make sure they still fit in the story. Whereas if you're working on like a lead, a supporting lead, something like that,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
then you usually take a lot more time because you want that character to be a lot more complex, a lot more layered.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And has it ever happened to you that there was this character that it took you more than usual? You know that it was something about this character that you just took you the most to it.
I mean, it happens a lot for different auditions where something just doesn't click for some reason. Like certain personalities, certain characters are harder to get into.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and like you come up against it sometimes, and I find all you can really do is keep trying different things, maybe different ways of saying it, different ways of moving until something finally resonates. Yeah, yeah. So sometimes it can be, or like something very highly emotional,
Mm.
but where you don't have the opportunity to like build up towards it, like where there's not a big scene before to get emotional. It's like suddenly, boom, your character is just thrown into this situation. You have to just access their emotionality right away.
Yeah.
That can be a little more challenging.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I love it. I love it. I mean, and you know what I find it very interesting, either for a film or like a TV show, the fact that whenever you're watching, you suddenly start to have like this connection for the character, you know, and you ended up caring so much about this character that you really don't want the character to like to be dead or something like that, you know, like,
Yeah.
and I find that interesting, the fact that you can relate to something totally different than you in a totally different story than you for my character that you don't know anything about it, and then suddenly you feel like this strong connection to it, you know.
Yeah, you really care for them. That's the one of the hard things too about when you're done shooting something.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, that's, you feel like
Mhm.
you're gonna miss them. You had so
Yeah.
much fun hanging out with this person you've created and the writers created, and yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I remember when I watched Game of Thrones, they played with my feelings a lot though, so.
Oh yeah.
But
They really
anyway. Yeah,
do.
it's horrible. But so by checking your resume here, I mean your resume it's awesome, it's epic, I love it. I mean I'm gonna leave here in the description below your IMDb page so they can check all of the projects that you have been involved with. I mean there's so many, I love it. So tell me, if so let's say right that one day I call you and I tell you I want to become an actor. Now of course I don't have any experience at all, like zero. So based on what you know and on your experience, what advice could you give to me or to someone who doesn't know anything about acting but wants to start this career change, let's say?
Um, I think there's kind of two routes you can take.
Mm.
First one, kind of what I did was because I was a bit younger, I was 19, is you can actually go to film school. But they can be quite expensive and they're a big time commitment. So I mean, you can go that route as long as you're okay with like the amount that it costs and doing that full time kind of. And I'd say film schools like that definitely they fully prepare you. Like you could go get a job right away after kind of thing. And there's lots of opportunities to meet agents and get headshots and stuff during that year and a half to 4 years, however long your program is.
Mm.
If you're more in a position where you don't want to spend a ton of money like that, you want to kind of keep your other jobs, I would recommend just taking weekly classes to start. So maybe an audition style class somewhere in your city, or you could even do scene study. I definitely would recommend doing like an on-camera class though, because
Okay.
especially if you've been doing theater, like if you remember doing theater in your past or something, or just public speaking, being on camera is so different. The camera picks up everything You really have to condense everything and bring it in and learn what you look like on camera and what works for camera and what doesn't. So I'd say some of these weekly classes are probably $400 or even $300 to about $600 for 4 to 6 weeks of class. So you could do something like that. And then you also need to get headshots. For your starting headshots, I would go with someone local, not crazy expensive, and just get maybe 3 looks, like a good commercial look.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a grungier look, and then like whatever you think you're going to kind of be mostly auditioning for, play into that. Because once you have a headshot, you can get set up on Casting Workbook, which is like a yearly subscription, and agents can see you on there. So even if you have no experience, but you have on your resume that you're in training, sometimes agents will look for people to just have on their commercial roster. And then if you get booked in a commercial, you get on-set experience, you learn about acting, you learn about set, you make some money that you can put towards more classes. So I recommend starting commercially first and in student films, and then working up from there, like trying to get an agent. And then, yeah, that's kind of how you start. You just try and get your headshots done, get an agent, get some training, and then you slowly start building over the years.
Okay, I'll put that in consideration if I ever want to make that jump. Thank you. I love it. Now, has it ever, like, what's the funniest audition you ever have?
My audition for Supernatural was kind of like a cute, funny one, because I was playing a prostitute, and
Okay.
I had the instinct kind of that in the beginning of the scene for the audition that I should come out and pull my wedgie as if she had just like gotten dressed and she was like coming out. And I was like, should I really do that? This is quite a few years ago too, so I was a bit newer. I think it's only the second job I ever had or something.
Okay.
Kind of like, should I really do that? I don't know these casting directors well. I'm kind of nervous. But my instincts were saying like, yeah, I feel like that's what a character would do. So when I started the audition, they're like, okay, and action, whatever, on the audition. I just walked out and I just had her pick the big wedgie in the way she would. And then she kind of like stretched and looked around, and then I started the dialogue. And it's funny too, because later on set, I did end up booking that job by following those instincts. And then the director told me that he actually saw me because I think something happened and I was running behind that day, and so I was kind of like running to the studio to make it to my audition in time. And the director said that he saw me running out his window when he was heading to the sessions or something, and he's like, oh, that girl would be perfect for my prostitute. And then he said he saw my audition tape, and he's like, that's the girl I saw.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And then I think for commercials, there was one where I messed everything up. They're like, can you please pretend you're painting here and this and this? And I just broke every rule by accident just because I was nervous and flustered. Like I spiked the camera too. I looked directly into camera at one point, which you're not supposed to do unless it's something like spokesperson-y where you're actually talking into camera or talking to the audience, but it wasn't like that. And then I like sat down in it on the floor and a bunch of other stuff. And by the end of it, I was like, I made at least 6 classic audition mistakes. That's like rookie mistakes. And then I ended up booking that one. So it's just like one of those things where, like, sometimes break the rules. Like, don't worry about it too much. Sometimes if you add something in that's fully unique to you, that's what they're gonna fall in love with.
Totally. Yeah, it's so interesting. And also, like, everybody has like their own thing that, for example, for me, I don't have to. So check this out. So for me, for example, whenever I will have like an interview, I don't think about it. You know, I just go with the flow, because it happens to me that I planned it very much and it ended up being a mess. And whenever I watch the video to edit it, I'm like what the hell I was doing here, you know, like, but yeah, it happens a lot. But like, I wonder, like, for you, like, how you deal, you know, with this so-called second thoughts after the audition. Like, you did the audition, like, how you managed to get out of those thoughts and to continue doing something else, because I do believe that sometimes it can take hours of your time, right? And you're like in
Mhm.
this hamster which is just the same thing over and over and over and over, right?
Yeah, it's taken a lot of time to be able to kind of disconnect from the audition after. I guess I had to stop looking at it as such a big opportunity every
Mm-hmm.
job and just look at it as an opportunity to practice.
Okay.
Because if I don't think about it, or alternately like thinking that you're on set, like that it's not an audition, that this is your time on set, this is your
Mm.
time to shine, and just doing your best. And then the ones where you feel like you messed up, those are the hardest ones to shake. So after those, I definitely need like some self-care, like some
Yeah, yeah.
either a nice like walk outside with good music, or like a good workout, or is something usually physical to kind of try and get me out of my head. Because yeah, the
Mm.
thoughts can start spiraling where you're like, why didn't I do that? Or I should have gotten up at 5 a.m. instead of 6 a.m. to work on this. I didn't work hard enough. Like
Yeah.
whatever kind of spiral you usually go down, I usually find that something physical helps me break that up.
Mm.
I need to
Okay.
get like out of my head into my body kind of.
I love it. That is really cool. Now let's say that one day Netflix, HBO Plus, Paramount, well, you name it, they call you and tell you, we want to make a film in which all of the characters you have played at the moment are gonna gather to celebrate your birthday. Tell me, what would be the name of that film?
Um, it would probably be, what would it be? It would probably be something like about hot messes or something.
Mm.
I've always played like prostitutes and stuff, so um yeah, I've always been kind of playing those kind of parts that are like maybe a bit of humor in there, but definitely yeah. So that would be an interesting movie for sure. It'd probably be like Hustlers or something.
Okay. I love it. And what would it be? Would it be like dramedy, comedy, dark comedy, horror
Probably be a dark
perhaps?
comedy.
Mm.
Yeah, I would guess. If you put them all together, I'd say probably a dark comedy. If you
Okay.
mashed it all up.
I love it. Now, if you had to choose one of your characters to go out shopping, which character would you choose to go with?
I'd probably go with Petal from Maid
Mm.
because she was just a ray of sunshine. You know, she was just a sunny little thing. She's a mom. I think she'd be really sweet. Yeah. Or maybe Katie from Tiffin Falls, because same thing. They just seem like really nice ladies. The rest are a bit of a ragtag bunch. I'm not sure about them. They might shoplift or something while we're there.
Okay, okay. What about, so same question, but this time to go out party. Which character?
Oh, maybe my last character from The Fall of the House of Usher.
Mm.
It's the new Mike Flanagan one that's gonna come out probably early 2023, because she would be very entertaining to party with, I think.
Okay, okay. I'll
She
take
likes
that.
to be she really likes to be a well-connected person, and she's kind of like one of those, she wants to be like in the scene. So
Yeah.
she'd probably be fun.
Okay, okay. All right. Now, if you had to describe your whole acting career on a drink,
Hmm.
which one would you pick? I mean, you can either choose from any type of drink or you can create it. It's up to you.
Okay. It would probably be like a macchiato, because the espresso is on top, so it's like the first part is a bit more like bitter,
Mm,
and then it
okay.
gets a little like sweeter and softer as you go down, because definitely when you're first starting out, it can be a struggle. Like I remember I finally got an agent after film school. I had one agent that I was like set up with an opportunity for, and they didn't sign me. So that was really hard, being like 19, coming out of film school, and then not getting it. They watched my tape
Mm.
and said no. And then I did finally get an agent a few months later, and then they actually dropped me because the agent there stopped being an agent. He decided to go back into business or something.
Hmm.
And then it was like starting over. I didn't have an agent all over again. So it'd probably be, yeah, something that starts, a drink that kind of starts out maybe a little more bitter and then gets sweeter and more easy drinking as you go along.
Okay. And what would it be called?
Hmm. Um, what would it be called? Probably the Don't Give Up macchiato. Because it's just, yeah,
Okay.
it's just like a never giving up. Like you always just, yeah, you always just believe. You're like, no, the next job is going to be even better than the last and
Yeah.
even better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it can be challenging, right? The fact that you can be auditioning for so many roles, and it can happen, right? That you have auditioned for a couple of weeks and you have nothing, right? I remember that back when I started this, a few actors told me that there were not many auditions, and the ones that they were having, they said no, so they ended up creating their own content instead, either writing a film, short film, something like that, and try to like keep their mind busy on something else
Yeah.
to
I always
release
say
it.
you have to like not just to survive as an actor, but to like thrive. You have to build the rest of your life to be a life that you love.
Mm,
Like your other jobs that you work, really love them, your home. Like try and craft a life for yourself that is so beautiful that even if you don't have an audition for 6 weeks, or you auditioned for something and you didn't get it, that the rest of your life just supports you because you've built such like a good network of people in your life, and a nice home that you've built for yourself, even if it's a tiny little Vancouver apartment. It's like
there you
make
go.
it make it your own, make it beautiful.
I love it. That is super cool. And like, what motivates you? We all have those days that we just want to quit. And it's so interesting because sometimes things are either normal or nothing has happened, everything is cool, but suddenly you get this feeling in your head that you have wasted time, that you have done nothing over this past few years, or. So my question here is like, what gets you out of those toxic thoughts or that toxic bubble, let's say, so you can continue on this journey that you have been for so many years now?
I think it's a mindset shift for me. So like if I see someone, that I went to film school with or that I grew up with in Prince George, who's like doing really well, like huge now, and then I find myself kind of in that toxic thought thing you're
Yeah,
talking,
yeah.
where I'm like, oh my gosh, well, why haven't I made it to that point yet, kind of thing. Instead of doing that, I switch my mindset into, whenever I see them on Instagram or on TV or whatever, I just like quiet. And this is super cheesy, mind you, but it works for me.
Okay.
I just, instead of thinking like, oh, why not me or whatever, I switch the mindset to, I'll meet you there.
There you go. Preach.
Yeah, that keeps me going. I'm like, I'll meet you there. I'll see you there.
Yeah.
I imagine working with them on the next series that they do. And that keeps me going. I'm like, yeah, that little tiny shift of how you're thinking about it just really helps.
Mm, mm. I love it. And I mean, we all know that that is gonna happen like super soon. I
Yeah.
mean, come on. That is really cool. I love it. I love it. And like my last question here is, what advice could you give to those who are on this point in their lives in which they're thinking to start doing something new, because it can be challenging, right? and
Yeah.
and and we all agree that as you get older, you start to get afraid on certain things that back then you didn't, right? Then so for someone who is either, let's say, having like a stable job or something like that, and wants to do a jump either in acting, music, something like that, but is not sure of the typical what if, or like, what if people don't like me, or what if, like all of those what if things, what advice could you give to them?
I would say if you're having a struggle, like if you're feeling nervous to start something, I would start one thing at a time.
Okay.
Just one thing. So For example, sign up for one acting workshop on the weekend. Because once you get that little thing, once you get that taste, and once that goes well for you, you're going to realize I can do more. So then maybe the next time sign up for the weekly class. And then that's if like you're really scared and you don't know. And then other times, I mean, you can just take the leap, like just start right away. Sometimes I feel like the universe is waiting for us to clear out the old so it can give us what's new.
Yeah.
You know, it's like maybe quit your job if you can, if you have the savings, and then dive in fully.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so it's like it's really thinking about what's best for you. Some people are more comfortable with starting small. Other people are better when they just dive into something. So I mean, as long as you have a backup and people supporting you, I say just go for it.
Yeah.
Give yourself like a timeline. Say by this date, I'm gonna have this and this done. For me, like goal setting is so important. Writing down of goals. Like I have a planner and it's like by this day I'm gonna do this. By this day, this. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, it is true. Yeah, I mean, I do think also that sometimes life, like whenever you are doing something that you don't like life is telling you, that it's interesting that whenever you're doing something that you don't supposed to, it's like instantly life is telling you like, dude, stop doing this and move to something else. You know what you want. Don't play, don't play a fool. But yeah, I do think that, and also that life's too short. I do think that that we should do what makes us happy. Regardless of what my people might think or say. Because one day we're gonna be old, and what then? Like you're old, and what is the thing you did? Did you really live the life you wanted, or somebody else's life because you were afraid to do it, and then later on you are this typical character that constantly says, I wish I've done this, why I didn't do this, I wasted my time on this, things like that. So
I know. I mean, I see and talk to like a lot of people who are working in the industry, and some of them left stable careers as lawyers or in medicine to do this at 30, 40.
Yeah.
And then immediately, it was just the right thing, and they're working now. So it's like, it's never too late to say, this is what I always wanted to do, and I'm going to do it.
There you go. It is true.
Some of these people are so successful, like constantly working actors. And so I'd say just go for it. Do what makes you happy.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end, if you're thinking about to do it or not, in that process, I mean, you have the worst outcome, which is nothing. So why not trying and see what happens? If you don't have nothing, that's where you were back when you were started, so that's okay. But at least now you can put that thing out and be like, okay, that thing's check, I can move to another thing now.
Yeah, I did the thing. I tried the thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end, what can I say, Britney? I mean, as I've been saying throughout this whole interview, your career is epic. It's amazing. I love it. I mean, it's more than obvious, of course, that eventually everybody's gonna know about you. And then the next conversation is gonna be where I can put this next award, because the wall is full of them. Hear me out. That would be fun. And who knows, maybe your own action figure at some point. That would be also cool.
That would be very cool. Having an action figure would be really exciting.
Yeah, I love it. But like the cool thing here is because you're doing what makes you happy, and as easy as some people might think, whenever they tell you what makes you happy, we all know that it can take years, decades, even your whole life for you to finally discover what was the thing that makes you happy the most. But the fact that you discover it, you have been working on it, you have been involved in so many projects. I mean, it's like the living proof that dreams can come true. Here are the results. Of course, there's this huge amount of work that we, the audience, don't know about, or the moments in which you are thinking about quitting or not, or like all of those moments that they're tough. But the fact that you have still pulled that through and continue, I think that's impressive enough for everybody to be like, if she can do it, I can do it, and I'll meet you there.
Right? I'll meet you there.
I'll meet you there. I love it. Also, I want to thank those who are watching this right now. Thank you so much for watching. It means a lot. Also, if you're listening in on Spotify or Apple Podcast, make sure to go follow Britney like right now. I mean, the video is done. So go follow her. I'm gonna leave her social media on the description below so you can follow her. I mean, let's make her viral. Come on, hashtag Team Britney. And again, thank you so much for making this happen. Have an incredible rest of the week. And yeah, all but the best wishes because you totally deserve each and every one of them. And I'll be definitely see you in the next one.
Thank you so much.
All right. So